into Tina's book, Matriarch. Um, yeah, it was so fun listening to it. You can definitely hear like certain parts of the book where she gets really emotional, and then like that certain emotions are still like fresh for her, which is so interesting. I love the name. Uh, and I was actually like watching this interview. I didn't realize like she's the first grandmother. Oh no, she's not the first grandmother to see their child. But she was just saying she never met her grandmother, and her children weren't alive to meet their grandmother or grandfather, which was is interesting. It's interesting breaking like little cycles. So she's like the first. She finally can see. She's the first of her and her family. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Um, I was really shocked that she actually addressed the Matthew situation, or talked about it. She was saying he was cheating before the marriage, while she was pregnant, and it was with the Oh, when she was pregnant with Solange, he was shooting with the receptionist or something. A receptionist or the receptionist at her salon. Also, that whole salon thing was kind of funny because he kind of just came in and took over, and she was just like, no. The whole, like, at that point in her life was so interesting because they really seemed like a thing, like a big issue, or like maybe because she was poor, she grew up poor, money was just like whatever. If you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. But then it was like that point where they had to sell their house because of a tax situation that they went through. I think they filed for bankruptcy. I think that's what she said, or almost bankruptcy or something like that. And they had to sell the house, the Parkwood house, I believe it was. They had to sell the house, go to. She went. She found. They found another apartment. He was cheating. She was like, "I'm done with this." She found an apartment in another location while he was still over at some other apartment. It was like a one bedroom that she found. It was her, Kelly, Beyonce, and Solange. She thought it was a. I don't remember if it was a one bedroom or not because she was like she said it was a one bedroom. I mean, she said it was a two bedroom, but the girl said it was a one bedroom. I don't know. I couldn't, but they were unhappy. The girls definitely were unhappy, and she makes it very clear she never talked bad about Matthew to the girls. And I just felt so like crazy and bad for Kelly. No, I kind of feel bad for Tina having to put Kelly through that, and then I feel bad for Kelly having to move away from her mother, or not having to, but she moved away from her mother. Now she's living in this really nice house with these really nice people, new family, but essentially, basically. And then now the mother and the father aren't getting along well. So now we're moving to a one bedroom. Like, what in the ghetto is going on here? I found that so crazy. And I just felt bad for like Tina having to drag Kelly through all of this. Excuse me. So, once I think he was, did he go through therapy? He always talks about going through therapy. She always talked about him going through therapy for the infidelity, and I'm sorry, and I want you back, and bring me back home. I want to see my kids. No, I want to see my kids, but the kids. He always saw the kids because Solange went over there one day, went over to the old house that he was living at, and he didn't have any food, and Solange was like came back to her behind like, "You evil woman!" She didn't say all this, but she's like, "You evil woman! You breaking up my family. My daddy don't even got food in the fridge. What's going on?" I was just like, oh my god, this is hilarious. The Solange parts in the book are so alarming. Like, it's shocking to me, but I guess like a regular Solange fan knows what she went through. Like, I didn't know she went through all of this because so Solange to me in the book sounds like she is disregarded. Disregarded with love, I'll say. Solange didn't like being on the road, didn't like she liked structure, she liked like a come home at 9, dinner at 6, go to bed at 8, like a structured situation. I think she's a cancer, so she's like a homebody, really emotional. I know a couple of cancers in my family that are similar. While B was just like, I love, and you can kind of understand having beyond while bringing B talks about having her kids with her all the time because that is sort of how she grew up, and then sort of like the dynamic of the house. It was just like this freedom, going to dance class. Oh my God, the dance classes, the vocal lessons, the different programs. I was just like, oh my God, I'm getting a headache. Actually thinking about it now, I'm like, oh God, oh God. Like she's definitely worked to be the singer and dancer that everybody like wants to discount her to as she was, which I really hate. Because this book really reveals she was in dance classes. She took vocal lessons and always in a play or something, 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 always doing something that she really loved, and that all that builds you up to be this entertainer that she is now. Which I'm just like, okay. But back to Solange. So Solange loved the life of home, and when Tina talks about when her mother died, she got pregnant or Beyonce was born. I think she got pregnant like 6 months after, or not too long after her mother passed. And she was so close with her mother, she just felt like B was like the replacement. So much that I'm like, it kind of feels like you put, and still like even reading after Beyonce is like this big, after like, okay, let's say like 2006, 2009, she's helping me get an office. She's helping, she made a wedding dress. Like, it kind of felt like it's Beyonce and Tina versus the world. And I'm like, oh, this is like an awkward truth reading moment that I don't know if we should be reading this, but we are. Like, it doesn't actually say all that, but putting the pieces together, and even still today, she's like the head of the wardrobe, and she's like the CEO of Be Good, and she's a chairwoman, I think, or she's a creative person and in charge of Sacred. So it's just like, oh, and I think she was in with like the perfumes or something like that. So it just kind of feels like, and someone said Tina is living her dreams through Beyonce, which maybe I'm not gonna 100% say that. She gives, and if you say it like that, it's definitely, um, if you say it like that, it's definitely, what do they call show moms? Manager moms? Whatever they are. It gives like that, but she says she's not, she's never been one of those, which now it kind of gives like that, or maybe that's just their relationship. So it kind of makes it seem like they have a stronger relationship than what she does with the rest of the kids. That kind of confirms like certain like things you kind of think, because you always see Kelly and Tina. You see Solange and Tina, and you kind of rarely see Beyonce and Tina, which is puts those rumors away because actually, it seems like they're together all the time, working together even all the time. House of Darion, like the lists go on. But you kind of do feel bad for Solange because Solange does seem like she's like disregarded, and then you kind of feel bad for Solange, but Solange seemed to be kind of okay with it because she ended up living with Tina's friend, and Tina's friend really took care of her and stuff, and so like one day Tina came and was like, "I want to take you and go do something with you," and Solange was like, "No, not me. I got let's call it pink class at 5 o'clock." And Tina's like, "Pink class? I'm here to spend time with you, baby." And she's like, "No, I gotta go to pink class. Maybe you could hang with me afterwards." And Tina's like, "Okay, fine. I'll hang with you afterwards. Like, you can't just come up in here and try to run stuff. I got a life." So yeah, so you kind of like feel bad for Solange for a second, and then you don't feel bad, but then you like hear about the like three major deaths: her therapist, Uncle Johnny, and then her best friend. That one was just like, oh, damn. And then Solange had like this early midlife crisis when she went and had a baby and got married, and they were just like, you don't have to get married. They kind of took it well. I don't. Was it Matthew? Did Matthew not take it well? I don't remember. Excuse me. But yeah, okay. Back to Matthew right quick. The infidelity nonstop shocked me. I don't remember the infidelity. I don't remember the baby situation being as big as she's talking about. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention that much. But it was very shocking that, Matthew, and remember Wendy had the picture of the stripper or the ex stripper or the girlfriend, whatever, and Wendy like blasted the photo all over the all over her TV show. That was funny, but it hurt Tina. And even after the baby thing, I think Tina they got back together for a second, and they were like sneaking around, and they were in Galveston, and it was Mother's Day, and Tina's like with Matthew doing their thing on the boat, and then the girls are like, we're not gonna come up. We're sorry, we're not gonna see you. We have other things planned for Mother's Day. And then they call Tina on Mother's Day and like, Mom, guess what? We're on our way to Galveston. And Tina's like, what? And like rushing Matthew out the door, cleaning up the coffee cups, cleaning up any like evidence that he was there, let alone two people were there. I was just like, this is fascinating. The story about her and the fish fry. She's talking to Solange on the phone. Solange is trying to cook some chicken in a bag, in the little plastic bags. And Solange didn't put the plastic bag on a sheet pan or something. She calls her back, and I guess it exploded. It's everywhere. She got really mad. Tina's laughing. Tina laughed so much. Tina was frying some fish. She like hit her hand on the fish. I mean, hit her hand on the pan. The oil came and like just messed her up. So I'm guessing like this racial moment. The cops thought it was like this racial moment. The cops thought it was some kind of like domestic violence situation, and they end up taking her to the hospital. And she's like, "I'm in pain. I really don't know what's going on." Can the Matthew's like advocating and yelling at the nurses to get her some medicine, and they end up giving it to her. And I'm guessing that was like Matthew protector. Matthew always being like not always, but when he's good, being a good husband. I think that's probably what she. I guess that's what that was story is about. I kind of didn't understand what's the point of that story. Let me know if you understood what that story was about, because I don't know. Um. Oh my God, the swings. So Tina one day came to pick up Beyonce from school or something like that, and she couldn't find her. She wasn't with like a group of friends or a group of people. So she's like asking all the little kids where Beyonce is, and they're like over there. Or she sees her over with the swings, like pushing the swings. And so Tina walks over to her and she's like, I think she said she was like singing to herself or singing in her head. And she was like, Beyonce, what's wrong? Beyonce. And like Beyonce like snapped out of whatever trance she was in. Tina's words, not mine. And she was just like, Beyonce didn't have any friends. And I'm like, oh Lord, why is she saying this? Not this story, Lord. But you know what? I wonder if Beyonce even cared. Did Beyonce even give a fuck? Did Beyonce even like really care that nobody was like playing with her or like being her friend? Because I feel like the Virgo in us really don't really care until we care. But like, I don't care until I really really care. But like, yeah, I feel like maybe Beyonce really didn't care, which is funny. It's so funny how that little girl's life has like had all this isolation and this like separation from people in a sense, or maybe like that's just who she was, and now it's like she's like this talented superstar that everybody wants to know and everybody wants to be friends with. I wonder what that mind situation for her has been. The headliners. I don't know why I wrote that. Tina's mouth. Tina. Okay, Tina is hilarious. Tina also definitely has a slick mouth. Tina, and then Solange has like a slicker mouth. And I think she talks about like ADHD, how like if she was possibly having ADHD when she was a child, and I think that kind of comes from her mouth, like always being slick, very witty, and then like the jokes are hilarious in this book. I was cracking up at some points. Um, and then her mouth again with like telling Flo, uh, like I need a babysitter, and you're gonna babysit her. You're gonna babysit Beyonce, and she was like, no. It's, Gina's like, well, bye to you too, or she hung up or something like that. That was funny. Her dad's accent. Okay, so in the book, she's from Galveston. Her family's from New Iberia. I forgot. It was. I think it's another. It's a specific, more specific place she talks about in Louisiana, and they have like the Creole accent. And she said her dad had a thick one, and it's so crazy to me that these black people born in America, born in the South, in the same sort of region, how they kind of not kind of they treated him like he was a foreigner because they allegedly could not understand him or understand what he was saying. And I'm just like, he's from America. He's from here. Why are y'all acting like this man who's clearly black because you're treating him like a black person, but then you're also treating him even worse because, like, the time she had to go to the hospital when she was a kid, she was sick, and they ended up doing some kind of like hymen thing with her on her hymen, and he didn't really know about it. They couldn't really understand him. I don't know. And then like the other part, the other like story that she tells about his accent when he was really sick with cancer, Was it cancer? I think yeah. I think it was cancer. When he was really sick, no, he had a stroke. Or did her mom have a stroke? Or did her mom have cancer? Okay, when he was really sick, I think it was cancer, and they were in the hospital, and and the nurses were like talking, and they again they couldn't understand him, and they were talking around him, but he can understand them. Tina comes in one day, and he's like, "Tina, I'm dying," and she's like, "What do you mean you're dying?" He's like, "The nurses say I'm dying, but they don't know that I can understand them." And she's like, "Oh, that's not true." So I was just like, it's so crazy how black people were just treated left and right, whether with the accent, just being plain, just being black, like the birth certificate thing, and it's just like it's hilarious. How does everybody have a different spelling of the same name, but the black people are the ignorant ones? Okay, but anyways, um, I love when she did the accent though. I like on the interviews and tours and stuff. I love like the circle of life she had. Her mom would take care of like her mom was like the mom in the town that they lived in, and then Tina. A lot of Tina's qualities and a lot of Tina's attributes come from her mother. You can definitely tell from like the first page, from like not only just like designing clothes and stuff, but like the giving back, the taking care of everybody. Um, Eventually, she had like taken in Ebony. I forget who Ebony was. I think they were cousins. Her cousin. They took it like in Ebony and her mother, and was just like just come in and like took it in, and then she took in like Angie at one point, like just took over Angie, right? Tina's magic was I feel like when Tina opened headliners, she kind of was getting into her groove and like finding her purpose or finding what she was good at because she had like tried singing. She moved to California for a while. Like I think she had like different little jobs around, but like the hair and then like the Destiny Child, the clothing, and now like sacred. I feel like that's her thing. So another Beyonce, I don't know why she told this story. There was a teacher, and the teacher was like, "Beyonce slow." I was like, "This is not helping any rumor, any hater talk. Like, it's not helping at all." And I'm just like, "Oh my God, why did she have to tell this story about the teacher saying Beyonce slow?" But Tina would like snap back. She had that mouth on her. Tina's like, "Well, what are you gonna do to help her uh, get over this hurdle that she's going through?" I was just like, "Oh Jesus." Another cute Beyonce story. Be Tina wanted to get Beyonce into vocal lessons because she was wearing her voice out. It was like one of the earlier versions of like Girls Time or something, and B, they were kind of wrong. B knew all the parts, and B would, you know, the Virgo that she is, give everybody their part, teach everybody everything, the dance, the singing, and then she wore her voice out, so she would go hoarse. So Tina's like, "I need to put you in vocal lessons so you would know how to use your voice." properly. She's like, nah, I don't want to do that. So she was hoarse one day, so hoarse, or she couldn't sing so much. They gave the lead part to another lady, another girl in the group, and B was like, "Girl, how they gonna use me like this?" You know she learned that lesson. You're not gonna use me like this anymore. So she's like, Mom, I need those vocal lessons. Um, I love that she didn't want Solange to go into show business, just like she doesn't want her grandchildren to go into show business, because from the little success that Beyonce was having at the time, she clearly could see it wasn't it. And then at that point, Solange was like a little child when Destiny Child was just going out, becoming big. She definitely didn't want Solange to go through any of that, but Solange pushed through. Solange used like her own money. As she became like a background dancer for Destiny Child, she used her own money and like started working with like Pharrell and the Solange in Tupac story. Solange was like a baby when Destiny Child was just recording their first album in Oakland or something like that, LA, the Bay, California ish. And Tupac was like in the next room. Solange, as like a little girl, went over to his like studio and was like talking to him and stuff. I was just like, that's hilarious. Okay, the production deal. I am so glad that Destiny's Child did not sign a 90s production deal. The same kind of production deal that TLC, the same kind of production deal that Tony Braxton signed, the same stuff like other you hear. Oh, in Vogue, I just learned about in Vogue. They signed a production deal. The production deal does not guarantee you money. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but you actually singing and making an album, and you're not going to get any profit off of that. The production deal is producers are signed to a label. The label needs the production. The label gives the approval to the producers to sign people to them in order to make an album and make, and then the label and the producers are the only ones that make money off of that, make money in that situation. I'm so glad because that was their, they were going to sign a production deal with, I believe, Daryl. I think he was a guy that recently passed away. They were going to sign a production deal with him, and here's part two of the story. They were gonna do something, and Daryl was, and I think Tina was like, they're too young to be doing something like that, and I don't give the approval. So Daryl got mad and was like, fine, they're not gonna do it, and I'm dropping them. And the interaction that they had, Tina felt really guilty and really bad that these girls weren't going to continue on with their dream because of her mouth and her pushing back and her being a mother. Years later, or some time later, Matthew talks about, and this is where I'm like, we need a Q&A at these matriarch events because I have questions. And here's one of my questions. Years later, Matthew tells her, well, Daryl told me that they were going to be dropped anyways because he didn't even have I think it was like with Elektra. He didn't even have a deal with Elektra anymore. So he was like trying to find a deal, production deal. He was trying to find a new deal with somebody while he had this group. And I was just like, oh, so it wasn't Tina's fault. He just made it seem like it was Tina's fault. Man, if Destiny's Child signed that production deal, who knows where we would be? Who knows where they would be today, especially financially? Because I think it was even if it was before then that Matthew like was giving them courses on the music industry and how to make money, and you don't own anything yet, and you're paying for everything before it even you're paying for it before you can even make money about it from it. Because the label is paying, giving you a loan, but you have to pay that loan off before you start actually making money. So I'm just like, I wonder when was that timeline of the production deal and them knowing about the industry. Let me wrap this up. But I found that story to be, ooh, wee. Kelly, I need to talk. I love that Matthew and Tina were always like the parents of the year. You weren't gonna mess with Destiny's Child. You weren't gonna mess with the kids because the Tina was styling them differently than the rest of the world. They were, I guess, a little bit more grown, a little bit more sparkly things. It wasn't super sexy. And Tina and the label didn't like it, and so Matthew was like, "Who is keeping the lights on at Columbia?" Destiny's Child, and he walked out the room. That was a cute story. The Maxwell. Okay, so I was like, why does Tina always freaking post about Maxwell? She's always posting about Maxwell. She talks about in the book that they were at this really big magazine shoot. Beyonce was, and Maxwell was wearing a hat, and Maxwell didn't like the hat. And Tina was like, "You look sad." So she went over to Maxwell and took his hat off and started like picking his afro out. And I was just like, oh my god. The actually, you know what? The afros, her afro in the book, the pictures of Tina's afro, insane. Like the afros back then have nothing on afros today, or pre post 70s. I mean, like crazy huge, thick, color pop. Like I feel like the 70s. If we really go back to the 70s, if somehow we go back to the 70s, it's gonna be like the shocker of our lives. Like if we were able to teleport back then, like we would be completely shocked because you talk about like homegrown, authentic food, food from the vine, good sun, good air, a little racism, all that provides a really good afro. Oh, okay, let me wrap this up because this other story that didn't make any sense to me earlier this year, or like it was late last year, I'm looking at the credits of Dangerously in Love, and guess whose name I see on like half of the album? A good 6, 7 songs. Jay-Z. Tina tells this story in the book. She and Beyonce went to Columbia. I think it was like they were in London. They said, "Girl, you ain't got a song." Or they were in New York, somewhere. They were like, "You don't have a hit song on this album. What are you gonna do?" B got mad and was like, "They would never say this to Jay Z." I don't know what that meant. They would never say this to Jay Z. She said they went and played Jay Z the album. So that means it just doesn't make sense. So either there was a whole nother album that they played for Jay Z. Wait, are they lying to us? Is the Dangerously in Love not the Dangerously in Love that was originally made? Because this story makes no sense. Because if Jay Z wrote half of the album, why are you playing Jay Z the album that he wrote half on? And then they made it seem like he wasn't originally on Crazy in Love because she said they went and played Jay Z the whole album and then he got on Crazy in Love. I need answers. I need answers. Skip to towards the end of the book. Um, Money gives you access. When she had breast cancer, B found like top doctors of this private practice, and then like her medical what do you call it? Whoever she has medical her insurance with. She didn't really like the way the insurance people were talking to her, so she went with the private practice. And I'm like, okay, yes, money gives you access, and money gives you access to different things. So I was just like, okay, interesting story, but not a lot of people can. Not a lot of people may have the opportunity to switch their insurance when they get a diagnosis like that. Not a lot of people may be able to have access to private practices and do different situations and do different healing things that the money and access gave you. Um, Second thing before I wrap up, another thing. Oh no. Teenage Angels. That part, like I was a little like crying, a little teary eyed. Just like her giving back to the kids, them really enjoying it, and just giving them access and giving them the option of going to see something different. I love that Tina and Florence are tied now. The Selena and Blue, I didn't know Selena died. Her older sister, Uncle Johnny's brother, I mean Uncle Johnny's mother. But the Selena and Blue moment at the wedding was such a cute talk. And then, as we all know, Tina was there for Kelly during her mother's passing because that's her daughter. And Tina knew what that was like. And that's just such a great relationship. Kelly and Tina. I love, I love Kelly. Kelly is so much fun, or she seems like so much fun. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Answer my questions if you know the answer. The whole like Jay Z, Dangerous Love, Crazy in Love thing doesn't make any sense to me. Um, Tell me what you thought about the book. I thought the book was really good. It was such a like I said, it was such so much fun listening to it and then like talking about it. I was like tweeting about it. A lot of shocking moments, a lot of really good moments of her like preaching and like really giving great advice, and just her being like this um inquisitive child with her mother, and then like the being back in the day with segregation and on the bus, that whole thing. And it's sad that people have to go through that, and people are born in that and don't understand it. But thank God she didn't have to deal with that too much longer. I don't even know how I would like deal with it, because that is such a crazy world to just be born into, slavery and segregation, like. And then the real, oh, I'm gonna end it like this. The one thing that is so crazy to me is like how modern, sort of modern, and worldwide and successful her daughters are, but she grew up in segregation. That's how like far we are from it. We're 71 years ago where segregation, people who are 71 still have segregation fresh in their memory. That's crazy to me. Because we have heard Beyonce And then Solange on A Seated at the Table talk about, the Solange moments get so much better. Keep reading. The Solange moments get so much better. They get so much jovial and clarity, and they get so much better and funny. I was just like, oh, thank God it got so much better with Solange. But thanks so much for listening. This is the Dead Show podcast. Leave a comment. You don't have to. You don't have to like the video. You don't have to subscribe or whatever. But I appreciate it. Thanks for listening, though. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought about